Ta-da! We are live. Welcome to the Composite. I am your host, Deanne Battle, and this is season 2, episode 17, I believe. So this season is almost over. So we'll have some really, let me not oversell it. We'll have some, hopefully, at least mildly exciting things on the horizon. All right. So I hope everyone's had a great day. The timing for the show is all over the place, but guess what? These episodes are getting done. So holler back. It's just, what time did I wake up? I woke up at like 4:30 or 5, and then I fell back asleep, and I woke up and it was like late. Yeah. And I was just like, oh man, I was like, I gotta go to work now. So, split schedule, right? But we're making it happen. So listen, here's what I wanted to talk about tonight on this episode. I wanted to do kind of a preliminary listening description / review of Vultures. Kanye's still talking about Jewish people. I just heard one of the songs here and I haven't had a chance to look up the lyrics. Let me see if I can get my laptop on. I'm just like, because here's the whole thing. I'm not saying people should be for or against Kanye West, the individual. But as I mentioned last episode, what I was trying to do is see like the concept of cancellation. If there was anyone who could potentially overcome being canceled, I think Kanye would be it for many reasons. Some that I think are good and some that are nefarious. I think part of the reason is as a nefarious reason, just the ways in which he cozied up to members of the alt-right. I think that was helping him from like officially being canceled, because a lot of the people, from what my observations, at least in that alt-right community, sometimes they just hold on to people just because it's like, oh, you're pissing folks off, so I guess I like you. So that is what it is. But yeah, I was just trying to see like, okay, well, what's the music actually like? Just like, for instance, comedians, sometimes comedians, they'll say something or they'll have a joke that goes too far for people and they get quote unquote canceled. Was the joke actually funny? Did you actually, like there are maybe 2 or 3 topics that I think are like sacred in terms of what you can talk about, like children, things like that. And so, it's hard for me to say that like, oh, something's completely off limits. I think the exception is when the comments are not only offensive, but additionally don't achieve anything, right? So I'm sorry, I feel like I'm just kind of not being clear. Stay with me for a sec. So Vultures is an example, right? There are some people that argue, okay, if the artist as an imperfect vessel, right, for this art, so in this case, music, that's what we're looking at. There are those, right, that would excuse the commentary and the affectation because of the quote unquote genius, right, that's coming out of the artist. So I wanted to see is that actually the case, right? Because, a lot of times people will say something, oh, something is offensive, but look at all of this great stuff going on over here. But it's like, but is the person actually funny? Is the music actually good? Is the writing actually good? Are they speaking to an important element of the human experience? So when I, as a writer, am making a character and that the character is somehow distasteful, I do that because there are distasteful people in the world that have views, that are hateful or problematic or damaging, or that make people fearful. But I never create those characters with the idea of trying to replicate the harm somebody like that does in the real world. And so I just, I really try to be mindful, especially as a Black person, because so much of the quote unquote art, right, and comedy, like I'm thinking specifically about minstrel shows, were done specifically with harm in mind, right? And so in 2024, you're told, oh, get over it, right? But no, those images, that replicating those stereotypes, extremely problematic and harmful, because the dehumanization then makes it possible, right, for people to physically, right, pierce whatever imaginary bubble that you think of personal space that you have, right? If I don't think that you're equal to me, then I can do something to you. I can cause you pain. I can murder you. And I use, right, the art, whether it's a book, whether it's a song, so on and so forth, to justify my actions. And so that's why, I don't even know what my point was. Sorry. That's why when I'm listening to the song right before I hopped on the live, I'm like, this dude is still talking about Jewish folks. Like, why? Is it just because it seems like, how when you tell your parents, like, oh, it hurts when I go like this, and then they tell you don't go like this? He's that kid, right? So is that what it is? Is there really a deep-seated anti-Semitism, or is he using the figure, right, of a Jewish person as a stand-in for something? Because we have, as a world, really, like, if we're honest, because there are so many associations, it's like, okay, I'm going to say this, but I really mean this other thing. Now, that's what my friend thinks that he's doing, but I'm just kind of like, if you have an allegory or a metaphor, I'm not saying that that's what he's doing, but what I'm saying is if you think that you're doing that and most people misunderstand you, then it's not working, right? And it's just, I wish he wasn't committed to this path, whatever it is, wherever it's going to take him. I wish he wasn't committed to it. Now, other things about Vultures. I only got to listen to 4 songs thus far. What does it sound like? It is like 9 Inch Nails, lo-fi hip hop, and what is that Drake album called? Views? Yeah, it's like if you took Views and mixed in 9 Inch Nails and then dialed it down to like 3/4 of the speed. It's the songs that I've listened to, no bangers thus far. Like it's more mood music. So the review that I read about the lyrical content, I think, was accurate, because I just, oh, you F this bitch. Okay. Yeah. Like, I mean, that's basically what I've heard thus far on these 4 songs lyrically. I need to sit down and, yeah, especially for the stuff that I'm like, what is he still talking about this for? I have to sit down and look at the actual words. But yeah, so listen, if he gets out of cancellation for Vultures, I mean, kudos. But I I didn't hear anything where I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. But it wasn't bad at all. But I remember when Yeezus came out, most people that I knew like were clowning that album. But for me, it's just kind of like, I didn't think the execution of it was successful, but I kind of saw what he was trying to do. Kanye had this comment one time, and he said that, okay, like when he's in his house, that he doesn't listen to rap music. I don't know if he said rap or hip hop, but he said he only listens to rap music when he's working out. And a lot of people were like, they're like, oh, he sounds so obnoxious. And he did. But this album with Vultures, again, because I would have to say I'm not finished listening to it, but it's reminding me a lot of Yeezus. And I think when he says he doesn't listen to rap when he's like at home chilling, but he listens to it when he's working out, I think what he's experimenting with at this point is to relocate the chokehold that hip hop has on our imagination. So, right, hip hop occupies or rap occupies a certain space, right? What happens when you transgress the space that hip hop occupies? So he's saying, oh, like, I don't listen to rap when I'm in this very meditative, cerebral, calm space, because rap in its current incarnation cannot occupy that space for me. I think what he's doing sonically is, what are those elements of rap that he can experiment with and push so that it can occupy that space. And so it would make sense to a certain extent to dial down the lyrical content, because it's more about allowing rap to be mood music, I think. And in order to do that, right, you have to have a different concept of what it means. Like, what do we associate rap with, right? Especially if you think about the late 80s and early 90s, right? When, Tipper Gore was doing those congressional hearings against like 2 Live Crew, I think, and NWA and other people. I think Ice-T was involved in that as well. But the idea is rap and hip hop is violent. It's degrading to women. It promotes this internal chaos, right? It's the same playbook people used for jazz, for rock, right? There's something about the headspace that rap puts you in that is uncontrollable, right? And that unleashes this aggression on the world. I don't believe that. But these are the ways rap has been portrayed. So if you're someone like Kanye West, who's really obsessed with mainstream acceptance within this current paradigm, right? Because this current paradigm that we're in is very limited in terms of who is allowed to gain access to power, who is allowed to gain access to hearts and minds, in terms of being a tastemaker. And that's what he's really trying to break down, what he's really trying to push. And so it's not working in terms of how he's dealing with the press, right? If we want to be super honest about that. But what happens, right, when you play around with the music, right? And that you try to have the music do different things, right? When you try to take hip hop from, again, I'm dealing with the stereotypes here. When you try to take hip hop from a place of chaos to the eye of the storm, right? And so you dial down the lyrical content, right? Because a lot of these guys are mumbling. I don't know what they're talking about, right? But then his voice then is really about complementing Kanye's production, which is kind of funky. Again, like it's like lo-fi hip hop and druids kind of. I forgot what that type of music is called. But yeah, like hymnals almost. And then I don't know if anybody remembers this group from the 90s, the Verve. And they had this song, Bittersweet Symphony, that it seemed like every studio bought the song and put it in every movie. So I've actually never been a fan of the Verve, but I know that song. I know I can hum it, and I know some of the words because I just saw it in every movie. What was it in? It was in Cruel Intentions, probably like the 10 Things I Hate About You. Like all of those movies that came out at that time had that song. And so why am I bringing up the Verve Bittersweet Symphony? Because the Vultures has that element to it of like existential dread, but at the same time trying to keep my shit together. So let me just take a moment to woosah. So that's what I'm getting off the first 3 or 4 songs. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that warrants you going out to purchase Vultures, but those are my honest thoughts about it. Other things that I want to talk about. Yeah, I don't know. No, that's not true. I do know. But it's just like, looking at the world around us, it's just like, sometimes it's just things I'm like, this bums me out, right? This makes me sad. And do I want to just be another person on social media whining about like the state of the world? Not particularly. Oops. But I am a person on social media making a mess over here. So hold on a second. Yeah. I thought about something else that I was wondering about. Oh, and I'll put a little note on this episode because this is going to be a short one. I've got to go to work super early tomorrow. I was thinking of... Yeah, you know what? I'm not even going to announce it. I'll just put something together, and then when it's ready, it's ready. And I will unleash it then. But it's a service I was thinking of offering related to writing in books. So that's very vague. I'll leave it there. Because like I'll notice sometimes I'm in this space and I'll say or do something, and then it goes into the ether. It's like, okay, well, nobody liked it, nobody responded, but then I see something somewhat similar in other places later on, so I'm just kind of like, okay, let me just watch my words, watch what I say. But that's been interesting. Very interesting. And what I'll say in response to that is, if someone's doing something and you like it and you applaud them, just let them know. Just a thought, right? It doesn't have to be a huge thing like, oh my God, this is a watershed moment in Instagram lives, or it doesn't have to be anything like that, but it's a shame as a society, as we become more and more disjointed, that what lingers with us, right, are the cancellations, are the bigotry and prejudice and pettiness, right? What if the positivity lingered? What if, at the end of my day, I could be like, wow, this person that was like, oh, I laughed so hard when you said X, Y, or Z, right? And that could be the thought you have before you go to sleep. Or if someone's like, I'd never mentioned it to you, but 2 weeks ago, like when you posted such and such, that I just smiled for the rest of the afternoon. That was just such a great thing. So thank you for sharing that, and I'm not saying I do that a ton of the time, but I do, here and there. I'll just try to sprinkle it throughout, and it'll just be out of nowhere. I'll see someone in the hallway or something, and I'll just be like, oh, hi. And I said, by the way, like, yesterday when you did blah, 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 thank you for that. And then just walk away. It doesn't have to be for clout, right? No clout chasing involved, but just like encourage people, in your everyday life. I think a lot of us need encouragement right now. I could use encouragement too, but I'm actually feeling in the last couple of weeks, I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling, there's stuff that I need to change. There's stuff that I don't like in terms of like, I wish it was better, but at the same time, I'm all right. And because I'm all right, I'm having a chance to, pick my head up and look around and say like, well, hey, how are other people doing? And it doesn't look like a lot of people are doing well, so just like, teeny nuggets of encouragement, I think would make a big difference for people, and that's part of the reason why, like, I think it's been at least the last 4 episodes, maybe 5 or 6, that I haven't touched on any of the news stories, because they're all one story. I think which is a story of our world, unfortunately, like a story of very powerful, evil, and unstoppable people, right, kind of mowing the rest of us over. And that's never the end of the story, but, every time that happens, it's just like, well, what do you say to folks? Maybe at the end of the day, what you say is you just give them the little nuggets of encouragement. You go, hey, when you wore that t-shirt, supporting that cause, or mentioning that old TV show. Oh, I used to love that show. Nice shirt. It didn't cost you anything, but, maybe it gave that person a little bit of a respite from inflation and rising gas prices, or, a sick family member, or just not feeling particularly happy about things, or just feeling down on yourself. Those little moments, those are important. And I think it's really one of the only ways back from whatever the hell this is that's going on right now. So, yeah. And let's see, today's Wednesday. I don't have a good track record of going live on Fridays. So, I don't know what to say in terms of when the next episode will be. The next episode will happen by Sunday. So that's a stretch of time, but I will advertise before then. And it will most likely be the last episode of season 2 or the penultimate episode of season 2, and then I'll take a week or two like I did last time, and then I'll make some changes and I'll come back because that's what I do. So hopefully that's encouraging to someone somewhere. All right. So this was the Composite. I am still Deanne Battle. Season 2, episode 13 out. Oh no, episode 17. Yeah. See, you try to have catchphrase and it just goes wrong. All right. Nighty night.